Peace, 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 family. This is yours truly, the founder of Uwa Pele movement, Amar Mari. Uwa Pele is a Yoruba word, and it stands for good character. And on this morning, I just have a word I want to share with you. It's on my heart for me to share this with you. This is a very emotional program on today because I'm going to share something with you I've never shared before. I'm talking about in the history of me preaching. I've been preaching since I was 21 years old. I've been a speaker. When most people hear preaching, they think of it as a religious messenger, but I'm a messenger of love, I'm a messenger of light, I'm a messenger of truth, regardless of whichever way somebody takes it. If the truth first, say ouch, because I'm gonna tell it the way that it is. Okay, and I'm here to help to shed light. I'm here to be a light in the world, to be a city set upon a hill. I'm a former drug dealer, I'm a former gangster. My life has been transformed by truth. My life has been transformed by love, and I'm here to help other people. I know my purpose in this world. And on this morning, I was compelled to come on here and to share with you my story about what happened in my life, about what transformed my mind, about European people, about life in general. When I was a young man, I was approximately in kindergarten or roughly somewhere between kindergarten and first grade. The first time I was ever called a nigger. Okay, I didn't even know what that was. I looked at my dad. I said, Dad asked my father what the question, Dad, what is a nigger? I didn't even know what a nigger was at that time. Then my best friend and I, Reginald Miller, peace and blessings be upon him. He was murdered at the age of 14 years old. His brains was blown out. And at that time, him and I, we was playing with our ball, and our ball rolled into the next door neighbor yard. And so we pursued the ball, to get the ball. And when the door opened, there was an old Caucasian man that said, "Get out of my yard, you niggers." Okay. When I was very, very young, I was a very young child, and my mother had me in her arms, and she was running away from these racist people that were trying to harm her and my auntie. And I heard that word again, nigger, nigger, nigger. Get out of here. I want some of you to understand that when I'm teaching and I'm talking to you about having a transformed mind and allowing healing to come into your heart, I'm not talking to you from the outside looking in. No, I've been on the inside. And now that I'm on the outside, because I've been on the inside, I can look in and I can understand the bitterness. I can understand the anger. When I was a young child, I could read. My mother taught me how to read before I even went to school. I went to preschool, and my mother taught me how to read. Okay. And there was this reading competition, and I read so well to where the racist Caucasian teachers, they looked in awe and was amazed. And when they came to the classroom to see who the winner would be, they allowed this Caucasian little boy to be the winner. He can barely read anything. And then they looked at me and told me, "You can't read." Listen, family. When I was in the United States Marine Corps, I saluted a Caucasian officer, and the officer would not return the salute. But when the European Marine saluted this officer returned the salute. I told one of my superiors what had happened. He said, "What?" Then he went over there and the same thing happened. He seen the same thing. Him being a senior enlisted, E9 in the United States Marine Corps, he wouldn't even salute the senior enlisted staff non-commissioned officer. So I'm telling you this because I want you to understand, I know what it is to experience these things. And I was so bitter in my heart to where I started a gang in Niagara Falls, New York called Black Mafia. Okay? I was very bitter. I was very bitter about me not knowing my language. I was very bitter about me not knowing my culture. I was in middle school at the time. I was angry. I was upset. I was enraged at what the racist European person had did to me. But as the title says, I used to be prejudiced, and I wanted to tell you what happened. And here's what happened. I was beating up innocent Caucasian people because I was saying, I'm going to get you back because of what your ancestors did to my ancestors. And let me tell you what happened. When I was beating up this young Caucasian teenage middle schooler that went to school with me, he began to weep. He began to cry out for help. And he began to plead with me and say, "Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? I didn't do anything to you. What did I do? What did I do?" I said, "I'm going to get you back because of what your ancestors did to me." He said, "I'm not even like that. I'm not even like that." He said, "Please, please." We surrounded him, me and the other gang members that I was leading. We surrounded him. Listen, we made our middle school so bad the teachers was crying. Hear me what I'm telling you, family. Hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying to you. I'm not just on here just talking, brothers and sisters. I'm not on here just to run my mouth or for me to be famous or to go viral. I believe that the universe has sent me to come bring healing to the brokenhearted and to set the captives free. Let me finish sharing to you what happened. I was convicted. I thought all Caucasian people were the same. I put them all in the same category because of what happened to me. Let me tell you what happened. One day I was rushing to school when I was in middle school, and I had forgot my lunch money. I didn't even know I had forgot my lunch money. It was lunchtime, and I could have swore I put my monies in my pocket. It was this young Caucasian guy. He just showed up to our school. He was a new student. And he was there for like maybe 2 days. And on the second day, he was like, "Alton, that's my government name." He said, "Alton." He said, "What's wrong, man?" I looked at him because I didn't like Caucasian people. I'm like, "What do you want?" He said, "Hey, man, only thing I was just wondering, like what was wrong, man?" He said, "I noticed that, you'd normally be eating around this time." And he said, I noticed you haven't been eating anything. I said, well, I forgot my lunch money at home. I ran out and I thought I had put my lunch money in my pocket, but I forgot my lunch money. He said, Alton, don't worry about it, man. He said, I have some extra money with me. He said, my family is well off. He said, I understand what a lot of your people go through. What you mean? What you mean you understand what our people go through? He said, man, listen. He said, I understand. Listen, I'm not trying to be offensive to you. He said, man, I understand that your people go through a lot, man. He said, I'm a Christian. He said, my family is Christians. You know, my father is a pastor, you know, and, you know, he said, listen, man, he said, I just want to be a blessing to you. He said, you don't have to even pay this back. This is a true story. When I tell you my faith is so strong in the universe, family, I'm not just in here talking. I know that is real. Let me tell you what happened. Grand rising to my sister Tamika. Rachel, I appreciate you, Queen. Grand rising to you too. Peace and love, my sister. Let me finish telling you what happened. I'm a gang leader. It was me and my uncle and our cousin through marriage. I was in Niagara Falls, New York. After school, we would catch up with these innocent Caucasian young teenagers, and we would be vindictive. We would get them back for what the ancestors had went through. Let me tell you what happened. It was some gang members that was a part of my gang that I started. And guess what? This happened in the same day that this young brother gave me lunch money. Listen to what I'm telling you. Listen to what I'm telling you. These guys caught up with this brother that gave me the lunch money, that same Caucasian boy that gave me the lunch money. These gang members, they didn't know me. The gang had gotten so big, the Black Mafia, I took the title from a gang in Rochester, New York, and I used it in Niagara Falls, New York, and it was just all black people. We just was all about, you know, avenging our ancestors and coming together and taking over. Let me tell you what happened. These guys didn't even know me at the time. Another person that put them down, I didn't even authorize it. I didn't even know who these guys was. You know what I'm saying? But they was going in the name of the gang that I started, my uncle and I, my cousin. So what happened was we was on our way home and we was walking down the street. And then the next thing I heard was, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? They was like, come in, you cracker. Guess who it was? The same boy who gave me the lunch money. Hear me what I'm telling you. This is not something I'm making up. It was the same boy who gave me the lunch money. He was crying and saying, what did I do? What did I do? He was crying. They was jumping him and beating him almost to the ground. The same boy who gave me the lunch, the same Caucasian person who I prejudged, who I thought was just like his ancestors, that same boy. And guess what? Conviction came over me. And I'm the gang leader. They following me. Conviction came over my heart. And I jumped in. And I said, leave him alone. It was this young girl who went to school with my uncle and I. And she knew who we were. And she said, y'all better leave that boy alone. She said, y'all better leave that boy alone. And I just looked at both of them because unfortunately, man, I used my warrior spirit to do the wrong thing. I looked at both of them. I said, I'll knock you both out right now. What you want to do? Either one of you, let's go right now. And the girls and the other boys that knew me, they knew what we were all about. They was like, yo, man, you better leave him alone. True story. You better leave him alone. I stepped up. I said, what one of y'all? I said, I'll beat y'all down right now. What you want to do? And that same guy who had gave me the money, that Caucasian guy, was sitting on the ground crying. And he was like, Alton, help me, Alton, help me, Alton, 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 help me. Crying, bloody face, pouring down with blood. And I looked at him and I was hurt because this is the same guy who gave me the money. And I said, look at what I did. Look at what I caused. Look at the problems that I caused. And I felt the same way when I was selling drugs. And I seen this young girl coming. My mother was hooked on drugs. Hear me when I'm telling you. Hear me what I'm telling you. I was selling drugs in my high school in between class. My mother, unfortunately, at the time, and my aunt and my uncles, I had some aunts and uncles as well who were hooked on drugs at the time, and all praises be now. My aunt and the uncle that I'm talking about now are pastors. Okay? And let me tell you what I seen. I seen a woman get out of her car. I seen her walk up to my friend brother with her baby clothes, and she tried to sell her baby clothes to get drugs. I was a drug dealer. And I stood there and I watched this mother try to sell her baby clothes for drugs. And I was a drug dealer. And I was convicted because Spirit showed me my mother, how it messed our family up. Spirit showed me how it messed my auntie and uncle up so much to where they had to give my cousins to my auntie. My mother was so messed up on drugs, she had to give me away to my grandmother. My friend mother was so messed up on drugs, this boy broke into my house and started eating food out of my refrigerator, and I caught him. Because his mother and father was so strung out in drugs, they ain't have no food. And the brother broke into my house. And all those things, when I was walking through school, in high school, I was on my way to class. And all those things, I stopped in the middle of the hallway. And the Spirit showed me all those things. The Spirit showed me all the way back to when I was in Gateway on Mount Hope. When my friend's mothers was on drugs and my mother was on drugs and my cousin's mother was on drugs. And then what the last thing flashed in front of my eyes was that sister that stepped out the car and tried to sell her daughter's clothes for drugs. And I froze in the middle of the hallway and all that flew and flashed in front of me. I was on my way to make a sale. And I stopped. And I went to my business partner. It came to me. I stopped and I went to my business partner and said, I got to go give these drugs back. I can't do this no more. I can't do this no more. When I tell you the spiritual realm is real, when I do messages like this, family, I'm not joking and I'm not playing. I seen myself preaching ever since I was a child. I thought I was just having dreams. I didn't pay it no mind. I didn't know. I didn't understand. I seen myself from a child. I'm talking about my young years. Went to my pastor when I was only in preschool, say I'm gonna preach one day. Didn't understand. Didn't know. Then I was in 5th grade, seen me preaching again, seen me standing up in the pulpit, standing before people preaching, bringing a message of salvation and healing and deliverance. Preaching just simply means proclamation. This is not limited to a religion. When I tell you that healing began in my life, healing began. Now I've been so blessed to be a serial entrepreneur in one of the most lucrative businesses in the world, having a real estate investment business with my queen and having multiple businesses. I know what it is to go to the corner store and get credit at a corner store. I know what it is to stand in a welfare line. I know what it is to grow up without a father. My father told me at the age of 5, he didn't want to see me no more. You want to talk about hurt? You want to talk about pain? My mother gave me away. And when she was on drugs, she called me names. And this is not to call my mother. This is not to beat my mother. She's not on drugs no more. And we reconcile our relationship. I'm here to tell you, I know what it is to be healed. I know what it is to be healed mentally. I know what it is to be healed from a broken heart. I know what it is to be broken, but I also know what it is to be made whole. I seen the very power of God come in my auntie life and take her off of drugs. I seen the very power of God come in my uncle life who wouldn't go to church. And I seen the very power of God come down in my family life and transform their life. I'm not just talking, family. I seen people set free from alcoholism, from drug addiction. I seen families made whole because they let the healing begin. They heard messages of salvation and they took heed to wise instruction and they applied it to their hard heart and it made their heart tender. And I seen people set free. I seen drug dealers lay down the drugs and the guns and gang banging. I seen it with my own eyes. You know why? Because that very man that I'm talking about is the one you're listening to. I bust a gun. I was selling drugs. I was in the streets. I was that mean person. I was that bitter person. So when I tell you that love is the way, love is the way. When I tell you let the healing begin, let the healing begin. When I tell you that this is the way to live, this is the way to live. I'm not telling you not to fight. I'm telling you to fight the right way. I'm telling you that the racist is just as brainwashed as a lot of us are. Everywhere you turn, it's hate, 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 bitterness, hate, hate, hate. The brainwashed racist hate. The victim of racism starting to hate. It's just hate, 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 hate. And what I learned is in my lifetime is that morality is the way. Morality doesn't have a skin pigmentation. That don't exist in spirituality. It don't exist. The answer is morality, because morality is what inspired that young Caucasian guy to give me money when I didn't have any. Let me tell you something. My grandfather, Fred Allen, was a veteran in the United States Marine Corps. My grandfather fought in Vietnam. There was a Caucasian friend that he had before he transitioned. My grandfather had heart problems. Let me tell you what happened. This same Caucasian guy knew my grandfather was leaving. Something I didn't even know about. Found out later on afterwards, my grandmother told me. And he promised my grandfather, he said, Fred, he said, I'll help Esther when you leave. I give you my word, I'll help her until she's able to get on her feet and move on. I'll help her do whatever it is that she needs to do. My grandfather transitioned. Peace and blessings be upon him, Fred Allen Sr. Love him so much. He was the one who taught me how to be a man. When my grandfather transitioned, this same Caucasian man moved from Niagara Falls, New York to Rochester, New York, and he helped my grandmother. And he lived with us. And he helped my grandmother. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was going through some things with my ex-wife. And I didn't have anywhere to live. And I spoke to some people who looked just like me, my fellow African. They didn't offer me nowhere to live. It was this Caucasian guy that found out what my problem is. He said, hey, Walden, he said, I got some room in my house. He said, I got an extra room back there, man. He said, you don't have to pay me anything, man. He said, listen, I went through the same thing before. I went through some traumatic things before as well. I went through the same thing that you're going through right now, man. He said, you could just give me this amount and, that'll be fine. A Caucasian. These others look just like me. We're supposed to be my friend. We supposed to be Marine Corps brothers. We supposed to look out for each other. Didn't offer me no help at all. And look just like me. Let me tell you something. I'm not biased. I began to recognize that it's the matter of the heart. When I was getting off of my bus in Rochester, New York, coming home from work, it was people who looked just like me who was chasing me down the street trying to hurt me. I've experienced who look like me trying to hurt me. I experienced people who don't look like me trying to hurt me. I seen people who look like each other hurt each other that are African. I seen Caucasian people who hurt other Caucasian people. Seen that. Seen Hispanics who are Hispanic, who took things out on Hispanic. What about the communist camps over in China? When you speak out against the government, what they're doing wrong, and they put these people in the communist camps. Have you ever heard about that? Yeah. What about over in Sudan, the extremist Muslims who went into Sudan and killed the other Africans, the African Muslims, the extremist African Muslims went into Africa and killed the innocent Christians that are African? What about that? I say to you that we're dealing with a matter of the heart and this corruption. And I say to you that people are being misguided and they're being brainwashed. What about the suicide bomber? Let me tell you something. I served in the Marine Corps. I was in Iraq. I seen the rubble the Iraqis was living in. I seen that. Remember ISIS? ISIS was going through killing their own people too. Murdering their own people. Because it's a matter of the heart. It's corruption. It's the misguided misconcepts that is fueling the error in man's ways. And I seen little children have bombs strapped to them thinking that they're doing something in the name of God. Oh, Allah is going to bless me. Allahu Akbar. Coming and committing suicide, thinking that they're doing something that's good. What about Hitler? What about Hitler with the Jews, the so-called Jews? Pale skin killing other pale skinned people. What about that? Because it's a matter of the heart. It's a state of the heart. And the same state of mind that I was in when I was selling drugs, it's because I was controlled by a spirit of greed. I had a corrupt heart and I shot at and I tried to kill my own people. It's the same corrupt heart that allows gangster rap to be played on the radios. It's the same corrupt heart that allows cigarettes, although people die more from cancer than any other type of illegal drug that exists. It's the corrupt heart that's fueling the corruption in this world. And until man repent in the error of their ways, until our minds is transformed, we're going to continue to see this weapon of mass destruction called corruption germinate throughout this world and continue to bring chaos amongst humanity and to turn humanity against one another, to continue the fights and the corruption and the bitterness that we see and the hatred that we see and the wars that we see. Greed, wars, greed. Going into other people's countries and taking their land and forcing them into their culture and making them work for free. Only a corrupt heart and a corrupt mind. The drug dealing and the gang banging. The state of mind. Prejudice. A state of mind. Discrimination. A state of mind. And I didn't stop doing those things until my mind and my heart changed. That's when I stopped selling drugs. That's when I stopped gang banging. That's when I stopped being prejudiced. That's when I stopped hating. It's when my mind and my heart was transformed. Again, this is yours truly, Amar Mari. I just wanted to share this message with you guys today. I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to debate. I don't come on here and do that. Because again, that's the state of the heart and that's the state of the mind as well too. Enough is enough. All these quarrels and all these angry disagreements, I don't involve myself in that. It's time for the healing to begin. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I'm only here to help those and to inspire those who want to be helped. I'm only here for those who have an ear to hear. Let the Spirit lead you. Let the Spirit guide you. Let the Spirit of wisdom come into your life and begin to lead you just like it led me. It's time for the healing to begin. Then that's when we're going to start to win. Once the healing starts to begin and we go to Uwa Pele, good character, gentle character, having a light heart, then we're going to start seeing better homes in our neighborhoods, families. Then we're going to start seeing things transform amongst us in our community. It starts at home first. It starts in the mind first. It starts in the heart first. And once we began to transform and our minds began to transform and the corruption and the wickedness and all of these intoxicating things began to get removed from our spirit, then we will start to see transformation. And only then. You'll never see justice from an unjust person. I don't preach fantasies. You'll never see justice from an unjust person. You'll never see laws enforced by an unlawless person. You'll never see it. You won't see things change until the person who has a heart to do right is in the positions. And there's a proverb that says this, and I'm closing here. There's a proverb that says that when the wicked rule, the people mourn. I'm going to say it again. When the wicked and the corrupt rule, the people mourn. But when the righteous and when the upright rule, the people rejoice. That's when things will start to transform. When the hearts and the minds of those who are causing the problems, hearts and minds are transformed. Then and only then when you see transformation occur. When people subscribe to moral principles, then and only then will you see transformation occur. How do you know, Amar? Because I was that guy. I was that menace to society. And now I'm a peacemaker instead of being a troublemaker. I only make trouble for those who causing the trouble. I'm only a problem to those who are a problem. I'm light and I'm only a problem for those who walk in darkness. And who can't see. Peace, love, and power. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for listening. I greatly appreciate it. And again, I'm only here for those who want to learn. Uwa Pele movement, again, is about good character and gentle character. And Ifa has taught me that. Ifa has taught me that. to be a man of good character, to be a man of gentle character. There's a time for peace and there's a time for war. I don't believe in allowing somebody just to hit you. That don't make sense to me. If somebody has an intent to harm you, then you have the right to defend yourself. When somebody is treating you wrong, you have the right to speak out against the wrong that's happening. But this is how you know that these people are brainwashed. They are psychopaths because they see nothing wrong with what they do. Why? Because they're brainwashed. See, the bully thinks that you're wrong when you hit the bully back. The bully think, oh, you're wrong. The bully never pays attention to what the bully does. You're not wrong for striking the bully when the bully is continuously harassing you and beating you up. The bully won't leave you alone until you do something to the bully. So you got to do something to the bully. You got to take that bully down. Sometimes the bully won't stop until you put your hands back on that bully. So as I always say, I'll turn the other cheek, all right. But it's going to be my fist to their face cheek and my foot to their butt cheek. It's a foolish thing not to defend yourself. This is all I'm saying. It's a foolish thing for you to be taxed. But yet the roads are still the way that it is. And yet the school literature is still terrible. It's a foolish thing to be taxed and you're supposed to be getting funding, but the funds are being misappropriated and you're living in a dilapidated area due to the funds being misappropriated. But also we got to take self-accountability because it's us as well that's putting graffiti all over the place and urinating and causing all type of corruption. So we got to take some responsibility for that too as well. We got to make our communities more beautiful than what we inherited. That is our responsibility. And just because somebody presents you drugs doesn't mean that you got to accept the drugs. Huh? Just because somebody presents you alcohol doesn't mean you got to take the alcohol. Huh? We know what gangster rap is doing. How many of us fight against that? How many of us as parents and how many of us in the community speak out against the very thing that they arrest us for? And we know that's poisoning the minds of our youth. And that's helping to further the destruction. So listen, we got inside problems and we got outside problems. So I believe in this is how we solve the problem is, guess what? Taking up moral arms and fighting. Fighting against it all. Not just one side. Fighting against it all. Anything that causes corruption in the midst of our family and furthers the destruction of our people, and that's causing hell in our communities, we need to fight against it all. Not just one thing. We need to fight against it all. Everything. So again, I thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for listening. And I pray that this message was a blessing to those of you who tuned in. I greatly appreciate you. I love you all, and I thank you all for taking out the time to hear out what's being said. I don't expect for people who don't understand to understand. And I don't expect a hard-hearted person to comprehend what's being said. Because once upon a time, not long ago, I had a hard heart and I didn't care and I wasn't there. So I'm not going to sit up here and talk to you like as if though I wasn't that menace once upon a time. But see, I understand what influenced my mind, because before I went to go do the work in the streets, I was listening to NWA, niggas with attitude. I was listening to the Ghetto Boys. I was listening to gangster rap. I definitely wasn't listening to Swing Low, Sweet Cheerio and Let Me Ride. I definitely wasn't listening to gospel music when I was going to do that type of work. And whenever I was intimate with a woman, I definitely didn't play gangster rap. I played love-making music. So think about it. I was listening to Onyx. Stick and Move. Lyrics like I'm a pistol packing pusher, so you better obey, and I'm having a bad day, so you better get out my way. Stuff like that. Before we went to put in work in the streets. So I'm not talking like as if though I've been sitting on the church pew all my life, or I've been the spiritual leader all my life. I know what I'm talking about. I've been there. I've done that. Got the witnesses to prove back in the hood that I put in that work. Almost shot twice, point blank range, and was set up at a barbershop on the account of who I was hanging with and the work that I was doing. Because you reap what you sow. You sow death, you reap death. So I'm not talking from a place of innocence. I'm guilty as charged. But I'm not that guy no more. And this is the reason why I started this program. It's out of love, because I understand. I've been on the other side. I've been on the dark side. I know how a corrupt mind thinks. I've been that way. I was a lover of money. I was greedy. I was corrupt. I didn't care. But now I do. And I'm bringing to you a way that helped me, and hopefully that you will consider and that you will ponder on these things and ask yourself, what am I doing to cause these problems? Or what am I doing to solve these problems? Ashe, Ashe, and Ashe. Again, I'm the founder of Uwapele movement. Uwapele stands for good character. The good character movement, where we spread love and peace. And we're here to provide information that will make you spiritually, physically, and financially well. Love you.